Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome, everyone. I felt like complaining a little bit about the grading companies today. I hope everyone is cool with that. And I don't mean like the standard complaints, PSA is so inconsistent, and Beckett is so slow to get your packages back to you, no customer service, and CGC, no resale value there, and SGC, dark bordered cards don't look good in SGC holders. That's sort of the standard complaints, but more nitpicky stuff that's always sort of gnawed at me a little bit, but it's really not a huge deal, not worthy of like its own video. But gonna put them all here in one video, as I woke up sort of grumpy this morning, just felt like old man get off my lawn complaining a bit today. All right, so I have 4 complaints here: 2 PSA, 1 Beckett, and 1 SGC. And again, fully acknowledging up front that some of these are a bit nitpicky, but we'll start with one of the PSA ones, and that is how they handle modern cards with very, very long titles. Here is a very good example. 2005 Playoff Absolute Memorabilia, Roger Clemens, TLS/TRD.SGL.SWT-JMB-REV. I mean, what do any of those letters stand for? I mean, I can figure out some of them because I'm fairly experienced in the hobby, but I can't figure out all of them, and certainly newer people wouldn't be able to figure out a lot of these. I'll pause for a few seconds here if you want to see how many of those words you can figure out. TLS/TRD is tools of the trade. You can see that on the card, but SGL, I mean, I'm going to guess that stands for single, SWT swatch, single swatch maybe, JMB jumbo, that sort of makes sense. REV, what is REV? Reverse negative, revved up engine? I have no idea. And of course I could just go online and look it up, but I mean, I'm holding the card in a PSA holder. I shouldn't have to go online and research what the title of the card is when it should be right there on the label, clear as day, and in many cases with PSA it isn't. Here's an even better example, the same thing: 2020 Panini Phoenix Jalen Hurts, RPS R.A.D.J-L/T BD.LG 1 of 1. I mean, I don't know what any of those mean except for 1 of 1. But you would have to be very familiar with this set to have any idea what any of these letters stand for. I mean, maybe there's a Goldin there, or a prizm, or a patch, or an auto. I don't know. I don't know what this card is. And I'm holding the card in a PSA holder, and I do not know what the title of the card is. That seems strange to me. There's no other grading company that has this issue on any level. And I would imagine there's no other grading company in any industry that would have this issue. I mean, imagine a comic book and a graded comic book holder, and you can't figure out what the title of the comic book is, or a coin, or a stamp. It's just a very, very sort of strange issue that exists. And, it's a very easy fix, right? Just add a 4th line or make the font a little smaller in these situations. It's just strange to me that this is an issue at all. All right, next complaint is with the SGC, and this one's extremely nitpicky, but I never liked how when there's a vintage rookie card with multiple players on it, they only list out the notable player, as in the case here, 1963 Topps Pete Rose. Now, that's how this card is identified by collectors, but that's not the technical title of this card. This is a 1963 Topps 1963 Rookie Stars featuring Pedro Gonzalez, Ken McMullen, Pete Rose, and Al Weiss. And you can say, of course, yeah, but Pete Rose is the notable player here, and he's the only one most people are going to care about, and that's true. But maybe not for everybody. I mean, Ken McMullen had a very solid career, and I feel like the title of a card on a professional holder should be the technical title of the card, and not just sort of what like most people would think of the card as. Here's another example: 1968 Topps Nolan Ryan rookie, and I mean, they don't even mention Jerry Koosman, who had a very, very solid career, and no question about it, Nolan Ryan is the driving force of this card. It's why this card has a lot of value, is Nolan Ryan. But I promise you, there are people out there who want this card simply because it has Jerry Koosman on it. They were Jerry Koosman fans or whatever. I mean, it's a very small percentage, but they do exist. And again, to me, the title of a card on a professional holder should be the technical title of the card, and not just leaving out players because that company doesn't feel they're relevant. And this is a situation where I think, PSA does a better job labeling cards in this case. But I also fully, acknowledge this may just be like a personal preference thing, and I may even be in the minority here. All right, next complaint is with Beckett, and this is really, an aesthetic complaint, although I guess it's more than that, but it's simply, why is the font so small on the label? I mean, look how much space is on that label. There's just a lot of dead space, and the font is tiny. Like, it's hard to read, especially, in certain photos online. When if you have a small photo online, it can be really tough to read, as is the case with this picture here. This is an eBay listing photo, And I mean, it's tough to read. It's really hard to read the number. Is that 76? Is it 78? Is it 70? Can't quite tell. Or in person, there's a lot of older people in this hobby whose eyes aren't great and they need to squint. And I mean, there's no sort of reason for the font to be that small on a card like this. The more than half of the label is just blank white space. Let's use that, increase the font so that it's a little easier to read. That would sort of be my complaint here on this 1957 Topps Roberto Clemente. And it's the same with modern stuff. Here's another example. 2018 Topps Chrome Update Juan Soto rookie. I mean, you got a lot of space there on the label. You can make the font quite a bit bigger, just make things a lot easier for people buying online and, older people with not great eyesight buying in person. All right, and the fourth one is another PSA one, and this is my biggest complaint by far of the four, and that is how PSA handles how they label cards that have been submitted with an autograph. Not pack-inserted autograph cards, but cards people got autographed in person and then have been submitted to PSA for authentication. Because when you do that, there's 4 different options on authenticating or getting number grades on the card or the autograph. The combination of do you want the card autographed or authenticated, and do you want the autograph just authenticated, or do you want a number grade on it? And that leads to a lot of confusion, and the labeling is extremely poor. Here's an example. 1992 Upper Deck Shaquille O'Neal. The card's been autographed, and you can see the label says Authentic Auto 10. What does that mean? Does that mean the auto is authentic and it's a 10, or that the card is authentic and the auto is a 10? It's not quite clear. Now here's another one. Trading card Jalen Hurts, a Gem Mint 10 auto grade. Does that mean that the trading card is a 10, or that this is not a legit card but the auto is a 10, or this is a legit card and the auto is a 10? There's just so many possibilities as to what this means. Here's another one. 1957 Topps Whitey Ford, autographed, authentic. Is the card authentic? Is the autograph authentic? Are both of them authentic? It's just none of it's clear, and this needs to be cleaned up because I just gave 3 examples, and you could interpret any of these labels in multiple ways. And for collectors, they need to know what they're looking at. Is the card authentic? Is the card a number grade? Is the auto authentic? Is the auto a number grade? Another one, just a really easy fix that would go a long way. Beckett, for example, it's extremely clear and I think does it really well. But that's it. Actually, not quite it. I have one more thing to show you, but curious to hear if you all agree with these complaints. Like, are these legit complaints? Are these just too nitpicky? Or are there any other sort of nitpicky complaints that you have about any of the companies that I didn't mention here? Would love to hear them in the comments. But one more thing I'll show you here. Picking on some of the big companies, I'm also going to pick on one of the smaller ones. KSA, they're a Canadian-based company. They're generally considered credible. They're sort of a niche hockey company. But, I mean, look at the grade on this card. 1986 Fleer, Michael Jordan rookie. They gave it an EX5. And, I mean, this would not grade anywhere near that with any of the major grading companies. Basically, it appears to be paper loss in the lower right and perhaps at the top as well. Some notable chipping and edge wear. I would guess this would get like a 1.5, maybe a 2 from one of the major grading companies. So, yeah, just... be careful when you're using a grading company that isn't one of the big 4. I mean, be careful with using any grading company, including the big 4. Let's be honest here. But I thought this was a particularly bad one. But that's it for now. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and see you all again next time. Thanks, everyone.